Thank you, Angie. She goes by Angela, but because we know each other back in the day, she calls me Kristi, and I call her Angie because we have that connection. But, hey guys, how are you? This is my first one. So, I might need to roll into it here. I got this. But a little bit about me. I grew up half Alaska, half Arizona. That creates kind of a wild sense of adventure in certain individuals when you see the wild mountains of Alaska and the wild rivers, and then you come here and the extreme desert and the extreme mountains, the Grand Canyon, things like that. It makes you an adventure girl. It did me. My glasses will make me trip if I move too much. Something about me is I've really gotten into outdoor adventures. Backpacked the Grand Canyon, almost 450 miles in the last 4 years. I hike and backpack anywhere. I do it up the Rincons, things like that. And I like to call myself an amateur adventurer. Even on my Facebook, it says, Kristi Key, and it says amateur writer, amateur adventure, amateur lover, amateur human. Because I understand, even though I've been doing this a little bit, getting into it more in the later years, I am still a baby when it comes to going out into the wild. When it comes to going where you have no service, no contact, you gotta rescue yourself, things like that. But I'm gonna tell you a story about when I was an amateur. I maybe was a fetus amateur adventure at the time. Back in 1999, 2000, in my early 20s, I decided I wanted to get into backpacking because I had the Alaska adventure girl in me. I know you're all shocked you thought I was in my early 20s now, and you're like, oh, really? 99? You were in your early 20s? No. But decided I wanted to go into backpacking, so I started talking to my friends. Let's go backpacking. I had heard of a place called Fossil Creek. If you haven't heard of Fossil Creek, you need to learn about Fossil Creek in Arizona. It is one of the most magical places in the state. Back then, it wasn't as widely known. Now it's all over Instagram. It's all over social media. A lot of people in Arizona, even outside Arizona, know about this place. Back then, though, it was the locals. It was Angie. It was me. It was the people who grew up in the Verde Valley or Prescott or things like that. And I had gone a couple times. I had backpacked down a couple times from what is now called the Bob Bear Trail Head. It's way up high elevation. You drop down 4 miles. It is super steep up and down those 4 miles. Well, I came up with this brilliant idea. My friend Anna, she was going into boot camp for the National Guard. She was going to go away for a while. I decided to do this send-off backpacking trip for her. But I also got this other brilliant idea, because at the end of that 4-mile hike from the really super steep high elevation place, there is a beautiful waterfall, beautiful dam, a thing called the toilet bowl, where the limestone has just created this amazing little swimming place that you can jump through, and you can swim up through the limestone and pop out in another swimming pool. Anyway, I wanted to take her there, but I didn't want to do that big 4-mile hike, super steep, super huge elevation gain. I had heard something that if you go to the other end of Fossil Creek, just the road from Camp Verde, that you could still get to the creek, and then it's just a short couple of miles up to the dam. Y'all have been there who are laughing out there. I know this. So, back in the day, no internet. We had internet in the late 90s, but it wasn't like it is now. I couldn't Google it and say, okay, Fossil Creek, how far is the trail? Things like that. I was young and naive and dumb enough and prideful enough, I didn't call the Forest Service to ask them for information on the trail. I could have asked, but I thought I had it figured out. So, me, my friend Anna, and my 3-year-old son Aaron, we pack up from Prescott and we drive to there. We drive to Fossil Creek, the lower part. We park, we go in, we find a place where it was higher. It was on the side of the creek, but it was higher than the rest of the creek. It seemed like a good place. We set up camp, we spent the night there. I had actually forgotten that we spent the night there, but I messaged my friend Anna yesterday just to ask her some questions about this story. And she goes, oh yeah, remember we spent the night there and an animal was outside the tent? And I said, huh. No, I don't remember that. But you'll see why I don't remember it, because of the things that happen later on in the story. You kind of forget little details like that. Anyway, we set up camp, we slept, we woke up early the next morning, and I was gung-ho, let's go down the creek, let's go down the trail, we're gonna get to the beautiful waterfall and toilet bowl, place to go swim in, all that good stuff. No. The trip was a bust. The hike was a bust. We hiked all day in the creek bed. Maybe we went a mile, with a 3-year-old too. So imagine that. He was not having it after that time. So we turn around and we come back, forget it. All right, we're coming back. We maybe swam in some little swimming hole that had like putrid water in it over to the side, but we get back to the campsite. That's the point. I'm feeling a little defeated. My pride's a little hurt because I'm trying to be this cool backpacker for my friend. By the way, she's never backpacked in her life. So we decide we're just gonna eat. We set up a little cook area right in the middle of the creek. The tent is about 20 yards behind us. We set up the little cook area. We eat dinner. My son is exhausted. Again, he's 3. So we go, and I put him in the tent and I put him to sleep. It was finally a time of nice relaxing. I'm talking with my friend Anna because she's about ready to go off to boot camp. Just kind of that bonding time that, it's not hot. It's that time of the evening. The place where we were sitting in the creek, it was this limestone rock that was rolled like this, and we could just scooch our butt down like a little recliner and just sit back and talk. Or so we thought. We're sitting there talking, and suddenly I hear this sound that sounds like a truck driving down the creek. Why would a truck be driving down the creek? That's what my head said. I stand up, can't see straight down the creek. There's some reeds in the way. So I kind of go over like this. Oh my God, that's not a truck. 5 foot wall of water rushing down. Sticks, logs, rocks, dirt. I'll never forget that color of black, just rushing down. Now, I don't remember if my friend said, go get Aaron, or I said, go get Aaron, but I turned immediately to get my son. He was behind us, about 20 yards, 30 yards, I don't even remember. I have never done this before in my life, and I hope I'm never in this situation, but imagine running through a creek bed. There's rocks, there's logs, there's fallen trees. I don't remember any of that. I floated to him in the tent. I was like a superhero, just going over those rocks and those boulders and those trees and the logs, and I finally get to him, and I scoot down, poor kid, unzip it, and I'm looking over. He is fast asleep, only wearing shorts, tucked away in the back of the tent. I crawl into the tent, and I just grab him by his leg, and I just yank him. He was fast asleep. I yank him, and I turn. He's freaking out, because, whoa, what a way to wake up. But I turn, I tuck him under my arm, just like a football, something like that, and I go to get out of the tent, much lower than this, by the way, crawling on the ground. So my hands up, got the baby, all that. I go to get out of the tent. My hair is in a bun. My hair sticks in the zipper of the tent. So I'm struggling, and I can hear the water. I can hear it, and it's starting to seep up. Kind of like the higher seep with the big wall, kind of the precursor. So I'm struggling, going back and forth. Finally, I just rip my hair out. Doesn't matter. I'm not gonna worry about that. Right where the tent was, there was a steep embankment. Again, it was kind of the highest spot we could find. Dirt embankment, and I just haul up that dirt embankment with my kid like this. Haul up the dirt embankment. I don't know, get up 10 feet, 15 feet. Again, it's been like 28 years. I don't remember a lot of the details, but I get up there. And I turn around, and I'm just waiting, and I'm looking, and I see that the tent's right there. The water still hasn't, the big wall hasn't hit. The water's just coming up kind of very slowly, high on the sides, and I think, that's not my tent. That's my friend Jason's gear. I don't want him to lose this gear. I don't know why I thought this in the middle of all this, so I go down, grab the tent, and fling it up the hill. I think I also thought my car keys were in that tent, so that probably could have been why I grabbed it. Anyway, throw it up there. Oh, by the way, my son is sitting on this cut stump. Why anybody cut a stump here? I know the Forest Service does cleaning. They clean the trees, you know, they cut trees to keep things clear. I don't know why there was a cut tree here. This is a very random place, but there's this nice little spot. And this was the first time also that I learned my son has a deadpan response to crisis and trauma. The first time I saw it. So we're sitting there, tents behind us. We look for my friend who's across the way. By the way, she decided to stay and get the gear, and she ended up losing her shoes in the creek and running to the other side. But my son goes, "Mom, the water is not supposed to do this." He's 3. Like, really, kid? Okay. Yeah, second time he did that, I crashed a snow machine into a tree, and he goes, "Mom, we're not supposed to be in the tree." He just does that. So I said, "Yeah, no, we're not supposed to do that." Anyway, my friend Anna's screaming, I can't hear. The water had already crashed by, and I knew that we had to figure something out, either stay. Now I could have stayed. I wanted to stay. I had the tent, I had the sleeping bag. We were fine. Anna figured there's a baby over there. She wanted us to get found. So I put how am I gonna get to the car? It's through the brush, there's no trail now. I put my son in a backpack, my North Face 65 liter backpack, put on a thick Patagonia fleece, and just start making it or booking it to where I think the car is. Maybe half an hour later, suddenly I see these huge headlights just crashing through the brush towards us. And suddenly this big pickup truck, the real pickup truck, not the one that I thought was driving in the creek, pulls up. It happens to be one of the workers from the power plant that used to be there. Anna got to some horseback riders, they got to the power plant workers. Power plant worker saw my headlamp coming through the brush and drove through the brush and rescued us. I've been back in 2020. That was the first time I went back, and I went to the place where the power plant used to be. There's old houses there. There were old houses there, really super cute, vintage houses. They're all gone. But as I was investigating the area, I found this very random piece of metal. I don't know what it's for, and it was just left there and discarded. But now I picked it up. Now it sits in my entertainment center next to my rocks and my crystals and my shells and all these things that I've collected on my adventures since that day. And it reminds me of the day my son and I survived a flash flood. Thank you.